The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk.
Good morning. How are you
Chip.
today? And I'm CJ.
And today is, what is this? This is not our last show. We do one next week, right?
Oh, no, it's live right now.
No, I'm saying, but we do one, we're going to do our year-end wrap-up next week, right?
Next Wednesday, yes.
Yeah, it'll be a year-end wrap-up. So today we have I guess we've got a lot of things to talk about today. There are a lot of things, percolating in the city of Fall River. Some things that, some old, some new. So where do we begin today, CJ?
I have no idea where you want to begin, but I think we should start with the transition team from the mayor, because I think that's going to be one of the big things to talk about. I thought I fell back through the time warp to the 1970s. The bodies that were present. Let's go over the line of people. Let's start from left to right, or as I put it, from the females to the males. Leading off the pack was Melissa Panchley. She was chosen because she used to be the chief financial officer for the Karam Group, and she is an active school committee member. I don't know if there's an ethical violation there for conflict of interest, but it's going to be interesting to see. The next person was Joan Medeiros. She used to be a vice president at Bank 5. She's now at Bristol County Savings Bank as a vice president of commercial lending. Lisa Kaminsky, who is the chief of staff for Bristol County District Attorney Sam Sutter, and is now part of the transition team. Then we get into the old school, leading on the new guard. We start with Mayor Carlton Viveris. Obviously a man who has great experience as a state representative, as previous mayor, who during that period of time was a good period for Fall River. But again, this is a mayor who, and you can interject any time, Chip, who really didn't do a lot of decision making on his own. He just put the right people in the right positions to make those decisions for him.
Yeah, and remember, he's been out of the loop for a very long time. I dealt with Mayor Viveris for, quite a while. Most of his tenure as mayor, which was about 12 years. He was the mayor for a very long time. He also created the Fall River Regional Task Force as a sounding board, which I think is probably one of the best ideas ever developed in Fall River. This is where, I'll get into the specifics later, but, some of these people, obviously, I'll comment on it individually, but I think there's an issue here of not only of some of these people haven't been involved in the process for a very long time, or in the process at all, or in the process in Fall River. So we're going down a line with a whole bunch of things, but also that, I think it's important who he hires to do the work. As you said, Carlton's administration worked fairly well. Carlton basically hired some good people. We had Bob Connors, who arguably to me was the best city administrator that we ever had. He had a background in labor. He also had a background in he had a management background too, because initially he was a labor representative for the New York Police, and then he moved over to the management side, and he was well versed in many areas. He wasn't a CPA. He was he had a lot of common sense, and I think that's one of the things that has to set the tone. Mayor-elect Sutter has said he wants to surround himself with quality people, and I think that's the only way to run a city, because a mayor can't know everything. And with that being said, why would you have two mayors on your transition team? Because basically, a mayor is only as good as the people who he hires to run the city and how he oversees the city. It's not like they know the specifics. And I guess that's where my position on this may differ, and, you know, he has every right to do it. I'm not condemning anything, I'm just giving my opinion. You know, I believe that, you know, I'm going to judge his administration after he gets one and he does some things and who he hires. But I'm not, my personal thing about this transition team is that's not the way I would do it. I would not have former mayors. I would have people who, you know, the city's in financial trouble. And with all due respect to Melissa Panchley, number one, because she's a city official, I'm not sure about the conflict of interest there, because she is a sitting school committee person, who, by the way, I've heard very good things about. I haven't heard anything, you know, negative about her. I heard she's very dedicated to what she does. But as far as her financial background, I mean, I saw Alan Sylvia I heard Alan Sylvia was at the city council meeting last night and taking copious notes. And if it was me, I would have probably put Alan Sylvia on a transition team. Alan Sylvia was the first city administrator. He's a Harvard MBA. He has vast experience in numbers. He's probably the best numbers guy the city has ever had in any capacity dealing with budgets. You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. And I had many battles with Alan over contracts and stuff, but the thing is, he is a great numbers guy. And, you know, my position on a transition team would be they should be specialists in those areas in order to look deeply into what's going on in the city and begin to not only give an accurate picture of what's wrong, but also be able to suggest a path out of the problem, not just people who held political office, because holding political office doesn't make you an expert. You know, just like the President of the United States. If he appoints a really good cabinet and he surrounds himself with bright people, you know, chances are things are going to get done right. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, I mean, I was kind of like, it was nice to see some of those old faces, but I wasn't, you know, that's not the kind of transition team I would have built.
No, it was a little disappointing, and I have to agree. I mean, right after Carlton Viveros was Mayor Bob Correa, I have a great deal of respect for Bob. I think Bob did a great job as mayor in respect to what he was trying to accomplish. The people skills, again, this isn't, the State House. Then we moved on to Joe Marshall, former president of the Office of Economic Destruction, Office of Economic Development. I'm trying to be nice for Christmas. Again, a man who knows his ABCs, he knows what's going on. And then you had Attorney Brad Kilby, again, former city councilor, former school committee member, again, politician. And then we go on to Lou Pacheco, who is currently the chief of operations for the Bristol County District Attorney's Office. And again, you're looking at all these people and you're saying, this is a great amount of political baggage, I think. A lot of these people was just baggage. But again, it's political payback. It's what these people need to do to get things done. But Sam Sutter did promise that the transition process was not going to be immediate. It wasn't going to be slow. It was going to take a couple of months, and that the transition team report would be made available to the public right after that, which I think is great because he's standing true to what he said during the campaign, that he would be sure that there was transparency. I want to see this transparency. It was just, again, I'm not going to play, Saturday night quarterback. This was Mayor-elect's decisions. He had his reasons for making them. We know that all political candidates, all political officials have political reasons for making their decisions. Good or bad, they are what they are. I just hope that we don't suffer because of those decisions. And this is something we have to look at. We truly have to look at that, Chip.
Well, yeah, I guess we have to see what the next step is. I mean, this is his transition team, so to speak, but now is that transition team going to avail themselves of other resources? I don't think that Alan Sylvia was at the city council meeting taking copious notes because he's leaving for Florida tomorrow to go back to Florida. I believe that he's been tapped to probably have some role in it. However, like I said, these people they were political people. They were involved in his campaign, and so they're on the transition team. I think it's a good sign that he said it's going to take a couple of months, because if it took a couple of days, we'd know that there was no real examination of anything. But then again, as I said, the examination gets back down to who's doing the examining. And, as I said, I'm not casting any aspersions, but these people were mayors. They had city administrators and treasurers and auditors, and, or they were, city councilmen, or in Lou Pacheco's case, he was a police chief, so I'm sure Lou is intimately, has intimate knowledge of police departments, and I know he has to have some knowledge on budgets and stuff, but when we deal with what's going on with our city, I think we really need somebody like Alan Sylvia, and we need people, we need that audit, and we need in-depth looks, because I think that the city, and it's just my opinion, it needs a total reorganization, as, by the way, Carlton Veras actually did do during his administration. But this is just the beginning, and as I said, probably not the team I would have, picked if I was elected mayor. I probably would have had the best lawyer I knew, checking into the law department. I would have the best numbers guy I could find, and I think we have a very good one, Alan Sylvia, at our, that seems to be available. I would, my transition team would be made up of specialists, because, and you could, I don't think there's a limit. There's no limit on how big a transition team can be. So you could have a few people who actually were mayors, because you'd say, okay, how we run city government, because actually what we have there is a pretty good, yin and yang of government. We have Carlton Viveris, who kind of ran a government that there was a lot of talk and discussion, a lot of transparency, actually. The Fall River Regional Task Force, which I was a member of, and it was made up of labor people, business people, and a cross-section, a great cross-section of the community. But virtually everything that ever happened in Fall River was put on the table in front of the Fall River Regional Task Force, and it was in the newspapers, and it was probably the most transparency I've ever seen in government during his administration. Then, of course, we've got Bob Correa, who's, as you said, I think he had a pretty good handle on the city's finances, because he was looking to not take a safer grant because we couldn't afford it. I disagree with that position. I think we should have taken a smaller, safer grant that we could handle. But he understood the financial condition. But again, here's a classic example of how somebody who's doing a good job, perception becomes reality. Because the fact is that he was thrown out of office not because he wasn't doing a good job, but because of his management style. People disliked his, the way he ran it. He ran it like he was the Speaker of the House, and it was my way or the highway, and people got a little upset with him. But in reality, if you look back on his administration, he understood the financial problems that the city was facing when he got in, and then, of course, Will got in, and everything, he was oblivious, and look, and this is where we are. So, I think it's, it's just the first step. I mean, obviously, everybody's gonna, have an opinion on this transition team, and I think it's what the ultimate result is. on this transition. How much information in 2 months or so when we get it, are we gonna get something that says we've identified the problems, or most of the problems, nobody's perfect, but I mean, we've identified the problems. This is why the city is the way it is, and this is also the path we're going to take to create a solution.
I agree. Chip, I agree. And the thing that bothers me most, I think, is that, this recall election was, not even 2 weeks ago. And people are already being so negative about who was elected to be mayor. And they haven't even given this guy a chance yet, and they're already screaming for recalls, another recall of this mayor and some city councilors. And, you've said it numerous times, I've said it numerous times, okay, the process is over. Let's let it move forward now. And the worst part about it is it's a bunch of wingnuts. And, I hate to say that, but it truly is a bunch of wingnuts who, for the most part, have done nothing but complain about everything. And granted, they can say the same thing about you and I, that we do nothing but complain, and we're proud to get that label. But, when you personalize everything and you take everything as a personal attack, it makes it very difficult to do anything with any type of credibility. People just look at you and they say, you're going to complain about everything. And I know, because they say that about me throughout the entire process of the recall. They said that about you. We could find nothing good in anything. And that's a bad thing, especially around this time of year. It's the holidays, and we need to move forward. But moving past the transition team, I have to talk about last night's city council meeting.
Well, before we do, let me just comment on this your last segue.
Okay.
You're right. Whenever you fight City Hall, whenever you take a position, there's going to be people on the opposite side that are going to condemn you because you're taking an alternate position, and they're going to call you negative, and they're going to call you, as I said, it's in the eyes of the beholder. But history and result is what counts, and the fact is, if you take a position because it's your philosophy that this is wrong, you can be accused of being negative, but it's not really negativeness. The fact is that, we felt Will Flanagan was not doing a good job. We said throughout the recall that this was about a referendum on Will Flanagan. And we did something. We did something very positive. With all the condemnation, with all the talk about how this was a mess and people did this and that, what we did was we got people involved. We got the people on the couch watching the cooking show today and watching the soccer game off their duffs and to the polls. We had one of the best turnouts in a long time in a special election, probably double what goes in most primaries. We had one of the best turnouts. So what we should be focusing on is building on that. We've planted the seed. But the problem we have is there are negative people, truly negative people. And there are people that don't have a life. They live on Facebook. They think the world is social media, and everything is, a team sport. You condemn somebody and your whole team on Facebook jumps them. If you don't support the right candidate, we're all against you. They diminish what we did in the recall, because saying now that, the wrong guy got elected, we want to recall him. I don't like that city councilor, we're going to recall them. We said from the beginning that this recall was a special circumstance. It was about a mayor who we felt had done so many egregious things that he didn't deserve to finish his term, and we could not afford for him to finish his term. This recall, by most of us, was not taken lightly. But when people start screaming for a recall anytime there's somebody with a different political position, I got one thing to say. Get the hell out of politics, because you don't know anything. You can't agree with everybody, okay? Get a life. The recall's over. We accomplished our mission, and why don't you turn around and start trying to build, you know, the reality of we got people to the polls, and the hell with who got elected. Let's just watch everybody that get elected, make sure they do their job, and if they don't do their job, vote them out. Because the people who were complaining the most did the least. They were laying on beaches, and they were doing their own thing while people were doing the work. And they're commenting on things they don't know anything about the lawyers and how much money. Who called a lawyer? Did you call a lawyer? I know you didn't call a lawyer, because I called all the lawyers. And I was the one that spent hours and hours getting prices, and CJ and I interviewed some lawyers. We had one set of lawyers that wanted to have a meeting with us and said, it's $750 just for the consultation. And we said, oh, we can't hire these guys. We're going to end up with a $40,000 bill. And it took a long time to find Les Rich. And Les Rich did this for virtually nothing. We didn't even pay for the ink that he used, putting together his exhibits. He did this because he believed in our cause, because we sat down with him, we explained that we didn't have a lot of money, and we didn't have the ability to raise a lot of money. The mayor spent $32,000, the city spent 40-some thousand. They spent almost $80,000 fighting us. Les Rich did this basically pro bono. He charged us peanuts. And if there's one hero in the recall, it's Les Rich. Because without the win in court, and we won every legal point, and those same boneheads that are on Facebook all the time complaining started condemning Les. Oh, he's a lousy lawyer. Well, you know, why did we get him? Blah, blah. We won every point of law. The 2 points we missed were interpretive. And we probably would have won if we wanted to spend $100 grand to go to the Supreme Court of the state. So let's get real. Get your heads out of your asses and realize that the recall is over. And let's keep Fall River on track by watching every single politician. And guess what? Sam Sutter's only got a one-year term. If he doesn't do the job, let's see you all get together and vote him out. Because like I said in the piece I wrote, it's more important who you vote out than who you vote in. Everybody deserves a chance. He doesn't have a record. Let's see what he does as mayor. And if he doesn't do his job, I will be voting against him, and I will help try to get him out of office. But I'm going to give the man a chance. Get a life, people.
Everyone needs a chance. You know that, Chip. And the thing is that, you know, some people just can't get out of their own way, and they let their egos take charge. But back onto the city council. Amazingly enough, the city council did vote down accepting the land and the deal with BFI, even though they first voted down tabling it, then they voted down accepting it. What were they going to do? Fight all night and go in a circle? So, you know, I was glad to see that at least one of the votes changed their position. But the thing that really got me was that, you know, no matter what, you know, you had the last ditch efforts and the usual with the city council, and BFI turned around and clearly said yesterday from Mr. October, I feel like I'm talking about a Playgirl Playmate of the Month or something.
Maybe Reggie Jackson, he was Mr. October, you know, but the Yankees. Guys, forget that. Being a Yankee fan, I remember that.
But he turned around and he says, oh yes, I nor anyone on my team are willing to go beyond this date, meaning last night. So basically, again, the city council is put in a position where their backs are against the wall, and, you know, here's the cigarette, here's the blindfold, and, you know, here comes the firing squad. This is the type of government, this is the type of legislation by Shanghai that has got to stop in Fall River. And, you know, I hope that Mayor-elect Sutter sees this and that he doesn't do it this way. And I don't think that's Sam's style at all. I think that he will be very upfront and very honest with the city council. And hopefully after the first of the year, we will see a new council president, somebody who knows the rules of order, because again, they had a motion on the floor to accept, and they made a motion to table while the first motion was still pending. Again, it's craziness in City Hall.
Well, it was good to see them vote down that, because, they say don't, the reason they say don't look a gift horse in the mouth is based in fact, because if they're giving you something, you better start watching. So they're giving us this land, and so you had to, I think that further research was needed. But it was nice to see, for once, the city council not caving because they had some ultimatum given to them. If you don't do this today, we're not going to give you the land. Well, something tough, and it was good. And, of course, our intrepid counselor, Pat, the last thing, the mayor, this is what the mayor wanted to do, and Kathy Ann said we have to do it, and so there's no way she was gonna allow this thing to be tabled. It's like, you can't do this. And I'm just interested to see if now she'll agree with everything Sam Sutter says, because she, I don't want her to break her cycle, but it was nice to see. Hopefully this whole process has changed the way the city council goes. And
yeah, but the funny thing is, you saw that straight across the board.
Yeah.
All the Flanagan wingnuts, supporters, butt kissers, all were still kissing butt right up until the end. On the loan orders, on anything that came before them, they were still trying to kiss that butt. And I'm like, the man's out of office, and you're still gonna appease him.
Well, you know what it shows? It shows that they don't do their own due diligence. They don't do their research. Every piece of information they got from the mayor. So now they think that it's gospel, it's carved in stone. It's like Moses with the 10 Commandments. Willie told them this is the right thing to do, this is why it's the right thing to do, and heaven forbid they do their own research. And while, I'm going to segue and say one thing, stop the personalization on Facebook. I mean, as a matter of fact, in my opinion, stop Facebook. I don't do Facebook. You got a problem with me, you come and see me, look me in the eye, because I'll look you in the eye if I got a problem. So stop with the bullshit on Facebook and get a life. I don't care when you go to the toilet and when you go shopping. So that's why I don't do Facebook. But I do face-to-face very well. So, but it was nice to see the council do it. So finally actually vote something down that Willie didn't want. Really wanted. I'm sorry.
I was actually proud, and I will tell you, we've got about a minute and change left. This year's gone by fast. This show's gone by fast. I sent out an email to many people this morning, wishing them a Merry Christmas and saying, I know at times I seem like a curmudgeon, but I cannot in any way, shape, or form deny that I've been. And I look forward to a better year. But speaking of curmudgeons and the last thing, Emeril Gaudet immediately jumped ship. He was so far up Sam Sutter's backside that, he was cleaning it. So was Daryl Gagnon. What is this? They, as soon as the mayor gets the boot, they got to come running out of the woodwork?
Well, they're they are.
Fall River politics at its best.
They are political. They are political hacks. They're with every winner. But, with that, it's like, I'm not going to say anything except closing with, let's for once remember that you don't have to even like each other to work together on a project. Because we worked on a recall doesn't mean we have to like each other. What we didn't like was the fact that our government wasn't acting right. The people in the colonists had nothing in common with the rich landowners, and they all got together to create our country. So you guys had better realize that you don't have to like each other, and you don't have to be friends to work on a project. And only when you make that realization will you ever be effective as a political group.
Well, that's true, Chip. And Merry Christmas, everybody, and we'll see you next week for our end of the year show. Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons